Okay, guys, we're just waiting on people to log in.
Is he gonna see?
It's on. I mean, it doesn't matter. People haven't. Nobody's logged in yet, but they will. But
Does it show who logs in?
yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Nancy Shore's watching.
Mm-hmm.
Hello, Nancy.
Tell my buddy hello.
Okay. All right, guys. We're gonna go ahead and get started. I'm gonna be asking the questions. I'm Casey Roberts, Dylan's wife, and I'll let these two give us all their infinite wisdom on the topic. So, Dylan, you want to get started here?
Yes, hello everyone. I'm Dylan Roberts. This is my dad, Max Roberts. We're from Dowden-Roberts Funeral Home in Heaver and also Dowden Cremation Center in Poteau. We want to welcome you to the first broadcast of our weekly installment of Ask a Funeral Director. Thank you all for joining us.
All right, are you ready to just jump right into the questions?
Sure.
Okay, so our first question that we're going to answer is Andrew's Insurance Agency. They ask, what's one thing families usually overlook when planning ahead for funeral costs?
Well, when someone comes to us to pre-plan, we are very thorough and ensure that there aren't any unexpected costs when the time comes. However, some people don't realize that even when they pre-plan a funeral, if someone passes away, say for example out of state while on vacation or visiting family, or if someone lives elsewhere and wants to be taken back home for burial, there will be additional added transportation costs for either driving or flying them to their chosen destination for burial.
Okay, interesting information. Next up, Max, can you tell us, Mandy Stevenson wants to know, why are there casket keys? What are those for?
Casket keys is what we call a casket key that seals a casket. You have different types of caskets. You have sealers and you have non-sealers. And at the end of the casket that seals, on the foot end, we insert what we call a casket key. We go counterclockwise and it seals the casket.
Yeah.
We make sure each casket's sealed before we leave to go to the cemetery.
Well, and you can also use them to adjust the bed of the
Yeah,
casket
and you
and
can-
raise them or
Yeah,
lower them.
you can use the casket key to adjust the head level, the foot level, and that's the purpose of the casket key. We make sure that we got one in each vehicle, and that way, if we need to unseal it at the cemetery for a reason, then we have what we need.
Guys, just so you know, I've even found casket keys just randomly in our kitchen at home, so they really do have
Dylan got his teeth on them years ago when he was little.
they really do have more than enough casket keys. So, okay, our next, well, it's not really a question, but a suggestion from Stephen Cawthon. He said we should do walkthroughs and give everyone a tour of the facilities. So what do you think about that?
Yeah, Stephen, that's a great point. We're generally open on weekends from 9
Weekdays.
to 3. Feel free to stop by and tour the facilities at either location anytime. Keep in mind, due to Oklahoma laws and ethics and HIPAA, there may be some restricted areas that we won't be able to show you. Also, you don't have to call first, but if you'll call first and let us know you're coming, we can be sure to let you know a good time that you won't have to wait on us to show you around.
Okay. Max, Nicole DeLeon, sorry, Nicole, if I said that wrong. She wants to know, where is the best place to go to mortuary school?
Well, I went to Dallas Institute of Mortuary Science. Dylan went to UCO, which is University of Central Oklahoma in Edmond. And the purpose that people go there is to where you get a major and a minor. Like Dylan got a major in funeral science. And I think you got a minor in public health, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And then I went to Dallas to where everything's strictly funeral service. Everybody starts at 0 and everybody graduates the same level. And that was in 1976, and I graduated in 1977. And one thing I can remember about Dallas is Gary Urey, who's our dentist, retired here in town. He was going to Baylor Dental College at the same time I was going to mortuary school. and we both had the same anatomy teacher and the same microbiology teacher. He had his course classes at the dental school, and I had mine at mortuary school. And we always joked about that every time I went to the dentist.
So do you know, what are some of the places now that offer a mortuary? Do you know of any places in specific, UCO, that offer a mortuary degree?
Yeah, the University of Central Oklahoma, you can get a bachelor's degree there. There's Dallas Institute of Mortuary Science. And there's also a college in Arkansas, and I can't...
Mountain Home.
Is it a Mountain Home? Yeah, and I think it's mainly online
Yeah.
courses.
We had a question come through real quick. Corey Duncan wants to know, who was a better helper on funerals, Corey or Ashton?
Hey, Corey. How are you doing, bud? Well, I'd say that's probably a close tie. You both are always good help. We miss both of you guys. You all have moved away from small town living and now big city folks, but I know y'all never forget where you come from.
We're proud of both of y'all.
Very proud of y'all. Y'all are good people. Love you guys.
All right. Brian Walker asked, are green funerals allowed in Oklahoma? Specifically, a loved one buried with no chemicals, in a non-commercial casket.
Yes. The short answer for that is yes. There's not much regulation on green burial funerals in Oklahoma. Some cemeteries have regulations requiring outer burial containers or vaults, so it really depends on what cemetery you plan to use. You can always choose not to embalm your loved one, and you can use a non-commercial casket at most any cemetery. All things considered, it really is what your definition of a green funeral is. Truly green with no chemicals in a biodegradable container would require checking with cemeteries to figure out who allows it. On the other hand, choosing not to embalm and having a homemade casket would give you more options as far as burial. If you or your loved one is interested in a green funeral, we are always happy to call around and get details about where it would be allowed. We always say as long as it's legal and ethical, we will make all the calls and do everything we can to ensure a service exactly what you wish for your loved one. And Dad, do you have something to add on that?
Yeah, there is one green burial cemetery, and it's in Stillwater. I found that out today. And other than that Pacific Cemetery, that's only for green burial, of course, you can do private property. And the rules is on private property with any interment is just to have a fence around it and to put a family name on the cemetery.
And make sure there's no water lines or lateral lines running through the property.
Okay. All right. The last question we have for tonight is, it's kind of a long one, so I'm going to read the whole thing, and then if I need to break it down for you, I can. It says, it's Brian Shadwick. By looking at the state's registered LLCs, it shows Mallory Martin owns Dowden-Roberts, bought it in 2014, and bought Grace Manor in 2018, and Evans and Miller in 2020. Do the owners plan on ever adding Mallory Martin to the name like they have at their many, many other locations from Huebner to Salisaw? Now, I know they own a crematorium as well. Does the influx of all their funeral homes use that crematorium? He lists the funeral homes, which I know you guys probably know what they are. With this much influx, how is that small town? How is this local? And how is it personalized?
Well, Brian, I'm so glad you asked this because it gives me the chance to address some of the rumors that have been circulating lately. First of all, I'm not sure where that information come from. When you look at the Secretary of State website at registered LLCs, my name is listed as well. I do own part of both locations. However, I do have a business partner and have since 2014. I've never tried to hide that fact. When I first started working at the graduating mortuary school, Dowden's was not hiring. I worked at a couple of other locations before I began working at Spiro at Mallory Martin Funeral Home. There I got to know Todd Martin, the owner, very well, and he knew it was always my dream to go back to Huebner at some point and work with my dad. In 2013, the opportunity arose for me to buy the funeral home. In 1998, Hal Dowden had sold it to a corporation out of Hot Springs, and they were agreeing to sell. However, I did not have the finances to do so on my own. I approached Todd, who agreed to help me with the financial aspect, and for that, I am truly eternal grateful. All of that being said, we will not be changing the name of either location. We changed Dowden's name in 2014, or didn't really change it, we just added our name on the end to reflect the fact that we had purchased the location, but chose to leave the Dowden name to honor the Dowden family, which we always will hold in high regard. Mallory Martin does own their own private crematory in Stigler, and I'm sure their other locations do use it. We were blessed to be able to use her private crematory as well. You know, the thing is, in our area, there's never been a multitude of crematories to use. You have always either had to use a crematory in Fort Smith, or there's one also in Tulsa. That has always bothered me, and I hope that someday I can provide that service right here in LaFleur County. The opportunity arose to purchase a location in Poteau for that, and now we are able to take care of your loved one through the entire process from start to finish, which we're very proud to say. At this time, any funeral home that isn't owned by myself or Todd is still having to go to Fort Smith or Tulsa for cremations. So like I said, I'm sure that Mallory Martin's other locations use their private crematory. It just makes sense that they would. Finally, you ask, how is that small town, local, and personalized? Well, first of all, we have always prided ourselves in building relationships with the families who trust us during the times of greatest sorrow in their lives. I value those in my care, and that has never changed. Many of the people who come to know us personally, as we have both grown up here and lived our entire adult lives here. Oftentimes, the process of preparing someone's loved one and their funeral services are hard on us as well, because we know the people we're taking care of. We do all that we can to ensure the family knows that they are cared for. We do so much behind the scenes to make sure people's wishes are honored. The bottom line is, yes, I have a business partner that I'm very appreciative of. He has helped me fulfill a lifelong dream, and for that I'm eternally grateful, like I mentioned earlier. While he provided the financial support we needed to get things going, the day-to-day operations are left to us. This has been the case since 2014, and nothing has changed all this time. We still operate very much the way we did years ago when the Dowdens were still working. When you call our funeral home, night or day, at either location, you won't get an answering service or some random person that happens to be on call. You either get myself, my dad, Tim, Janie, or my wife, Casey. You get people you know and people that you trust. How could that be any more hometown, local, or personalized than that? And then I would like to add to that my dad has been here pretty much his whole entire life, starting out at Dowden Funeral Home back in high school in 1974, back when they owned and ran the ambulance service.
I got in on the tail end of it when they were getting out. I helped the guy get started that took it over.
Yes. Would you like to add anything about the history or?
Yeah. Back in I got a chance to, the funeral home got out of the ambulance service, I think in 1973 maybe or so, and we back in them days, it wasn't like it is now. I used to get called out of school at times to make ambulance calls, and that was something for a 17-year-old kid back in them days, you know, to go down the highway getting a toot the horn and all. But a little history on LaFleur County funeral homes. I'm going to date way back. Back in the beginning, there was a guy named Oklahoma, and he owned the Heebner Funeral Home, he owned Poteau, he owned Tallahassee. And Glenn Dowden bought Dowden Funeral Home in 1953, and Jim Evans started Evans Funeral Home there in Poteau. Davy Drake started Drake Funeral Home there in Tallahassee. Yeah. And that was where the Hall Mutual Burial Association came into play, and it was one of the biggest burial associations in the state of Oklahoma. and they had members, Heavner, Poteau, Tallahena, and Heavner was the home office. Well, in 1953, Glenn Dowden purchased Dowden Funeral Home from Darrell Sinclair, who was Oklahoma's son-in-law. And back in 1966, Denny Jones, who lived at Wilburton and had Jones Funeral Home there in Wilburton, it was Burt Jones, and then it went to Jones Funeral Home. He bought Evans Funeral Home from Jim Evans back in 1966. And then Drake Funeral Home, and then he also bought Drake Funeral Home. And then in 1975, he purchased the Miller Funeral Home there in Poteau, which the building still stands up here on Earl Street, and combined Evans and Miller together. And he also had Cheney Funeral Home in McAllister. And Denny was from Wilburton. And, you know, it's one of those cases too, to where whoever's on the inside is the business, basically, you know. And I had the privilege of working with Evans when I got out of mortuary school. And Jim Cook and I have always been close friends. I came there in 1978, I believe, or 77, and I spent about 3 years there before I came back to Heavner in 1980. Jim and I, you know, we have a close bond. We always have. You know, we've helped each other. If they needed help, we'd help them. Back when Denny Jones was going through cancer, Jim would take Denny to Houston. They didn't have a licensed funeral director there. But Jim asked me if I'd come up while he's gone to oversee the funeral home, go on funerals, make sure everything was supervised by a licensed funeral director. And back in the day was the good days, to where we all got along, we were close friends. You know, we had a little friendly agreement to where we don't advertise in Poteau, they don't advertise in Heavner, we help each other. And that's what it needs to be in the funeral profession. Because if you don't have friends that you can call upon, one of these days it's going to bite you in the butt. They may have something that you need and don't have, and your answer you may get an answer, we're not available right now. And that's why close friendships are very important in the funeral profession.
Yeah, I know even, I mean, you guys have dealt with funeral homes in Tulsa, Dallas, all over the place, haven't you? I mean, I know I was always amazed whenever we first got married and they would get calls off somewhere, and you can just call another funeral home, you know, and they kind of have each other's backs. I think in this business that's really important.
Yeah.
And
we also have a good relationship with Don McCarn in Tallahena. There's been instances, especially before the VA hospital got moved, or the nursing home rather, to where, you know, if we had a death call in Tallahena, he would help us out on that end, and likewise, if he got a call here at the nursing home, we would always help him out, and that's the way it needs to be.
yeah,
We've always, you know, tried to help one another out, and we've got good relationships with Evans and with McCarn, and that's the way it's always been.
yeah. All right. Well, I mean, that's all our questions. So I don't know if you guys have anything else to add, or.
No, we're excited to bring you this new broadcast. This is new to us, but it's something that we wanted to do. I've heard of other people around the United States doing it, and we thought, you know, it would be a way for people that may need answers, you know, to questions regarding our profession, a way for us to answer them and kind of get to know the people that don't already know us. So hopefully next week we'll be back.
Yeah, next week I'll post on Tuesday again. Give us your questions. We're new at this, so I like to get the questions ahead of time. There may come a point where we're able to more comfortably take questions live on the spot. But I'm excited about it too. I think people always have questions about this particular profession because, I mean, a lot of people don't know about it. So I'm glad you guys will answer.
We will be honest and transparent with everybody. We've always told the truth. We've always, you know, shot people straight. We don't hide anything. I think that, you know, our business speaks for itself. Dad's been in the business, you know, combined almost 50 years. I started working funerals and making removals when I got a driver's license my sophomore year, which was in 1997. You know, people, the thing about it is when people call our funeral home, day or night, they know what they're going to get, and that's personal hometown service. We treat everybody like family. We've got a great staff. We love everybody, and that's what people are used to. As a matter of fact, the majority of people that have a loved one pass, they don't even call our funeral home phone. They call us on our cell phones. And a lot of times we know beforehand because we're good friends with them. We've been here many years doing business in Heavener. We love Heavener. We love everyone in Heavener. We try to support the school, any events, anything that we can do to help one another out. That's what we're here for.
We're always here.
And if you need us, you can call us anytime at either 918-653-2222 is our funeral home number. My personal cell phone number is 918-839-7412. Dad's is 918-658-5180. Our secretary, Janie Davis, hers is 918-413-2307. We are always available to be at your service 24/7, 365.
All right. I think we're finished for tonight.
Yeah, thank you all for tuning
Yes.
in.
Thank you for tuning in, and we look forward to talking to y'all again next week.